Okay, so what we have here is the latest run of KATO C44-9Ws from KATO. This particular one is Southern Pacific. This one has the factory installed ESU Locsound. This is the KOBO special. This is available in Union Pacific and Southern Pacific, both DC and DCC versions, and there are 2 road numbers per version. So let's have a look at this one. And I got the Southern Pacific because I've got plenty of Union Pacific stuff on my layout, so it's always nice to have something else to run. So first we have the printout sheet talking about the special features of this decoder. Looks like that's actually pencil written right there. That's interesting. Talks about that when it's on a DC layout, the sound will function on it, and where to mail it back in case you have a problem, apparently. And it looks like there's some CV values there. Decoder reset, prime mover, sound choices. I'm assuming all this is already pre-programmed for this locomotive. And you got your different air horns there listed. So there's quite a variety on this decoder. So let's have a look and see what's actually in the box here. And I can already tell KATO's definitely improved this quite a bit from the one that I've got. Alright, let's get them out of the box and we'll take a little bit closer look of them here. With the locomotive removed from the styrofoam there and the styrofoam pulled out of the box, what's underneath that is the installation guide for the magnetic trip pins to install in the couplers, and there is a little tiny bag right here with the trip pins in there, so you're meant to put those in case you want to. So most people cut those off, so when they're because some people don't like the way those things look. I usually cut them off myself, actually. Alright, so starting at the nose of the cab here, you can see that KATO has very nice ditch lights right here. Got the MU cable and hoses. The hoses are behind the snowplow, which is kind of unfortunate. We've got the coupler cut levers right here, which are plastic. We've got very nice handrails. And they did a very nice job with the Southern Pacific, the SP right here. The paint is very nice on this thing. Separately applied grab irons up on top of the nose here as well. And this is a major improvement for KATO. The prior release of this locomotive had plastic grab irons right here, and they didn't look very good to me. They're more just kind of chunky and squared and stuff like that. I didn't really care for those. Not very prototypical, but it looks to me like they feel like wire or metal, but I can't be certain of that, but they look metal to me. They look like they use metal grab irons on this one, so that's a major improvement for KATO. We've also got separately applied windshield wipers, which is another huge improvement. The previous run, these were molded into the windshield and painted black, so that's an improvement as well. Very nice touch. This one, like the previous run, has a complete interior cab. You can see that right there. And of course we've got the sunshade and stuff like that. Very nicely painted black trim around the windows here and the silver as well. The windows do not open. That's the case with the previous run as well. I wouldn't have expected those to open being a KATO. Not really something that's necessary on locomotives, but it's kind of a nice touch. The paint on this locomotive is superb. It's very nice, very crisp, very clean. It's not thick. They did a very good job on this. The Southern Pacific here is also done very well. Let me do a little bit of a different shot of that here. And I do apologize for not having my tripod. It did break, and I put it out of its misery once and for all, so we're running without that in this video. The Southern Pacific is done very nicely again. Um, it's filled into the gaps very well here in between the doors. It's a very nice touch. The handrails are they're nice and thin. They're plastic. There's some flex to them, but they're stiffer than the Athearn Ready to Roll and the Athearn Genesis models. So they're really nice. That's nice again. Nice touch there. You got these grab irons back here. More of a step actually, but these are painted red. That's a really nice touch as well. And you got some grab irons up here as well. Back behind here. Very nicely done. I'd say the detail is... They've improved the detail quite a bit on this from the previous run. I'll do a close-up shot of these here while I talk. They're very well done. Again, the previous run did not have these warning labels on there. And that's the same way across the whole side of the locomotive on both sides of it there. They even managed to stick a warning label right behind the brake wheel right here, which is interesting. The roof detail is pretty nice as well. This is not changed from the previous run, except for the fact that you've got more labeling at the top here. That little firecracker antenna right there. You can see the grill detail is done pretty nicely. Nice rivet detail. You got tread along the walkways here. These steps are not treaded, however. Not a big issue, but wouldn't want to walk on this thing if it's got ice on the steps, that's for sure. On the back side of this locomotive, we can see more grab irons right here, nicely painted red to match. Reverse light up here. MU hoses, MU cable, receptacles here, and these nice KATO couplers. So far I like these. I've already test ran this engine a little bit, and these seem to work pretty good. The MU hoses are not painted silver on the tips, so if you like that effect, that's something you'd have to add on your own. Personally, I really don't care one way or the other on that. I like what KATO's done with this. They've definitely improved this to compete with more modern locomotives in this price range, and I think they've got a really nice model on their hands right here. I hope that they continue to do this with more of their future releases. This was a nice model in the previous run, but or in the previous runs, I should say. But these little subtle improvements, especially to the grab irons and stuff like that, and the addition of the MU cables, and the fact that this is already pre-assembled, the MU hoses and things like that, it brings us up to a level that it should have been a long time ago, given the fact that this type of stuff has been done by other manufacturers for many years. So this is really nice to see KATO doing this, because KATO does really make really nice models, and they always have. So it's nice to see them actually improving this stuff. So now we're going to take a look and see how this thing sounds with this Loc decoder and that big speaker under there. Okay, so just two things before we get started here. One, the address of the locomotive is already pre-programmed to the cab number, in this case 8104, so just keep that in mind. Second of all, the default value for the volume on this thing is insanely high, and this thing is incredibly loud. Default value on the CV63, which is the master volume, is 180, which 192 is the max. So I lowered it down to about 100. It's still pretty loud, but we might have to play with that a little bit later on. So let's go over to the prime mover sound first. This is F8. This gets the prime mover started, and we'll also go through the shutdown sequence as well, just so you can hear that. And you have to do the startup sequence in order for the locomotive to actually move. So let's go ahead and do that here. Well, it's starting up here. Let's go over the sounds here. We'll do F1 is the bell. very nice sound on that bell. And F2 is the horn here. Pretty good response time on that. F3 is coupler clank. One of those sounds I don't really use. F4 is dynamic brake. That might not come on until the locomotive is actually moving. Let's see here. F5 is rotary beacon. We don't have that. F6 is ditch lights, which are not wired separately. I'll show that in a minute. Let's see. F7 is switching mode. Let's go over the manual notching up here. F9, by the way. Takes a while. I've already tried this. Okay, so I turned F9 off and it's still going. F10 is manually notching down. I don't see, there it goes. Takes it a while. I was just trying to see if I could notch it with the controller here, but I didn't seem to work. It just moved, so. Okay, so it finally calmed itself down here. There's air dryer. Dimmer headlight, we'll have to try that. Let's see, compressor 13. And I can't really tell if that's actually working or not. Sand valve is F14. Sanding valve is F14. That doesn't really seem to be doing anything. Fast spitter is F15. That's a nice. That's nice. I like that. Let's try auto spitter. That's F16. On shutdown, sound off. Okay. Let's see your auto brake set. Nah, we don't need to worry about it. So let's see. Slow spitter is F18. That was awfully loud. Okay, let's do fast spitter again. I like that one. I like that sound. There's some prototypical sounds right there. So far, I'm really quite impressed with the sound decoder. This really sounds great. Alright, well, now I guess it's time for the pull test. Let's see if this thing can pull 27 cars. I don't think it will, because these things, there's definitely a lot of resistance to these things. Some of them are metal wheels, some of them are plastic. And I've got 4 coal cars that have a very heavy sand load in them right now. So, yeah, let's try that out and see how it works. Before I get started with the pull test, take a look at the lighting here real quick. see the number boards are lit. There's very little light showing through the edges here. Looks very nice. Nice bright headlight. I'm pretty sure this is an LED bulb in here. It looks LED to me. Not super white, but it's got a very nice, bright, incandescent look to me. And I'm pretty sure all of this is fiber optic together, so but when the headlight comes on, the number board and the ditch lights come on as well. That's just something KATO likes to do, and I don't really mind that because, you know, you got incandescent bulbs in these tiny little ditch lights. Those become a real pain in the ass to change when they burn out, so it's really not a bad idea to just fiber optic those things unless you really want flashing ditch lights. But most of the time you're going to run these with those ditch lights on anyway, so it makes sense to me to have those wired up to the fiber optic, I should say, to the main light instead of having separate bulbs. When you turn them off, they kind of fade out. It's a nice effect there. Take a look at the reverse light real quick here. The reverse light looks quite bright as well. They did a good job on that. I'm really happy with that. Looks like the same LED bulb. And it's got a very nice, realistic warmth to the bulb there. It's nice and bright. It's not yellow, but it's not really cold white either. It's a nice color range that they did on that. So, alright, let's give this baby a pull test. Like I said, we've got a lot of cars on the hook here. All the way around. Going in and under the mountain there. So, let's see how this thing gets on with all this. I don't really expect it to be able to pull this, but yeah. We'll find out, I guess, here, huh? Alright, so here we go. The moment of truth. Can it pull this? The one speed step. It's trying. Notch it up to 10 here. Yeah, we're not moving, so can't pull it. Alright. Let's lighten the load up here a little bit. Okay, so I took these 4 coal cars off, and admittedly they are pretty heavy and very resistant to rolling because they're plastic wheels, so. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a test here of how smooth this locomotive accelerates. And this does have some motor noise to it, so I'll let you hear that here in a little bit. So here we go. Do speed step 1 here. It's really pretty smooth. Very slow too, I might add. Let's do 3, 4, 5 here. Feels pretty smooth. And there is some momentum built into this, although I don't know if that's due to the decoder or the flywheels. Go in reverse here. Do 5 speed steps here. Again, very smooth. Slow it down to, let's do 1 here. And there it just went. It gets a going pretty quickly, I'll tell you what. That sucker just kept on going and went all the way through the mountain there. Alright, let me get this thing back here. Alright, there we go. So as you can see, there is definitely some motor noise once you get it cranking up to a certain speed there. That's kind of unfortunate, actually. That's 35 speed steps. That's 30 right there. So that's probably why the decoder is so loud, to mask that. It runs really smooth, but it's just a little bit noisy, unfortunately. Like I said, I don't mind that kind of stuff, but I would say at this price range, that is a little bit disappointing given the fact that Atherton Ready to Roll is actually quite a bit quieter than that. Still, though, this is a nice locomotive, and I definitely wouldn't hesitate to buy a second or third one of these if I ever decided to. Of course, I don't know if that'll ever happen because these things are $230 roughly. So to summarize, I think the KATO's got a really nice locomotive on their hands here. The detail is definitely improved from the previous runs that KATO has done on any of their locomotives, frankly, except for the 844, the N scale. That's a really nice model as well, and so are those passenger cars. This is apparently a thing that KATO is doing with the HOs. These are some of the first runs that they're doing. So I hope KATO continues to improve all of their re-releases that I'm hoping they're coming out with. Overall, I think this locomotive is really something at least worth looking at. $230 is about what I paid for it. At that price range, there's a lot of competition, as I'm sure you all are aware of. The motor noise is kind of a miss for this. At that price range, it's kind of a bit of a miss. The motor is very smooth. It's a very smooth drive, very slow. It's very smooth at slow speed step 1. I mean, that's insane how smooth it is at that speed. And it's not a particularly fast locomotive until you start getting up to about 70 or 80 or 90 speed steps. Then it kind of takes off and gets away from you there. But the noise, it starts coming in about 25 20-25 speed steps is when you start hearing it, and it just gets louder from that point. It's closer to the sound that the Athearn Blue Box motors used to make, if anyone's heard those. So even Bachmann motors aren't that loud, frankly. So that's kind of a disappointing feature of this thing, that it's got such a loud motor. Which is why I believe the sound decoder was so insanely loud. And trust me, you definitely want to turn that down when you get it, because the speaker that they used, which is kind of another little bit of a nitpick of mine, it's very high pitched. There's a lot a lot of sounds that they kind of resonate in your ear there. They're so loud and so high pitched, so that's one of the reasons why I turned it down. It's because I really couldn't tolerate it. So that's something to keep in mind on this thing. Like I said, detail wise, it's definitely it's in step with a lot of the modern locomotives on that point. The paint job is fantastic. Whoever built this in China, I give them credit. They did a really nice job on this locomotive. So KATO found a really nice manufacturer in China to make this stuff. So it's, like I said, it's an improvement to the older run. And granted, this is a fairly older version from KATO, but they really didn't improve these over the years, and even all of their runs of locomotives have used that same kind of grab irons there. So it's nice to see them moving to something a little bit more realistic that everybody else uses, and they do feel metal to me. So I only say it looked metal to me because it looked like there might have been just a little bit of paint missing on one of the corners of them, so I could see that metallic shine coming through. But like I said, it's up to you whether you think $230 for this is worth it. There's a lot of other options. A lot of Genesis locomotives are starting to get under $200 as well. In fact, you can find some brand new released BNS Heritage 2 unit, as a matter of fact, on eBay for about $129. Now that's non-DCC, but if you wanted to add your own sound decoder to it, it might be worth it. I'm glad that KATO used Locsound instead of Tsunami. Everybody uses Tsunami. Tsunami's fine, don't get me wrong. I like Tsunami, but Tsunami is not the best anymore. Locsound and TCS WOW have definitely come a long way in the sound department over what Tsunami's offering is. And so yeah, it's nice to see some competition, some of these manufacturers using other decoders besides Tsunami. So and Intermountain's doing that as well, and those sound fantastic, as well as SD40-2s. So I think that's about all I've got to say on this. I can't say I can really recommend it for absolute certainty at that price range. It's up to you whether or not the motor noise is an issue or not. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave this video off with a bit of a run by and some night shots and things like that. So if you want to stay around and watch that, I sure would appreciate it. But if you don't want to, hey, we can end the video right here, and I'll just leave you to be and say thank you very much for watching, and take care, everyone. Peace out.